Giacomo's. Sal, he's the man. Giacomo's Italian Market. We had him on the podcast. We're doing a pop-up together. I don't know if I've met anyone who as real as Sal. He hugs me every time I see him. I love Sal. And you know what else I love about him? His food. His food is fantastic. It's an Italian Market right over there on College Hill. He's got sausages. He's got his own soda now. There's pasta, there's the rice balls. There is so much stuff over there that is just unique and special. And then you got the menu. The breakfast sandwich I was lucky enough to have, that's killer. The sausage sandwich is killer. The sausage itself is killer. The cheesesteak is killer. Giacomo's is such a unique thing to this area, and I'm so happy it's like 10 minutes from the studio. But Giacomo's, man, they are on... 700 Cattell Street in Easton, College Hill, and you can go to giacomositalianmarket.com. I cannot wait to do more things with him. I'm selling his sausage sandwich called the G-Spot. We're doing that on our pop-ups. So that is Giacomo's Italian Market. Please go check them out. Love them to death. They are a new sponsor, and thank you so much for sponsoring the show. Mindleaf CBD. I'm a lot calmer with this read. You know why? Because I'm using these products from Mindleaf. Liz came on the show multiple times. Awesome story on how she got into this. They are making all their products. We got the barbecue pretzels. The pretzels are fire. The tinctures, those are my big thing that I use. I go to sleep with those. The tinctures knock this groundhog out every time I go to bed. The CBD gummies are great, and the Delta 8s. The Delta 8s are fantastic. They'll put you on the moon. I enjoy that. Seriously though, this is a fantastic CBD product. I stand behind it. I got to use all of their stuff, and it is 100% the go-to thing I use now for joint pain, for going to sleep. The snacks are awesome as well. It's just an added bonus. I'll go over to the store and pick those up. Liz is one of a kind. You can follow their social media, Mindleaf CBD, and then it's mindleafcbd.com that you can order all their stuff online. So if you're not local to the area, if you are local, I suggest you go over to the shop. They have a really cool shop over on College Hill. It's actually close to Giacomo's, which is another sponsor. But that's Mindleaf CBD. Get your tinctures, get your Delta 8s, get your gummies, get all of your CBD needs from Mindleaf. We're doing pop-ups and things together as well. So follow their social media. We are connecting them into the network. So go support them because they support me. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. fiveanddimeeaston.com. They have their website officially up. You can shop most of their stuff online. They also have Fucked. They have Fucked in the store. I think they're the only one allowed to sell Fucked out of their store. It's 484-544-4719. That's at 5 and Dime Easton on social media. These guys are great. I mean, they're killing it. It's the best skate shop, in my opinion, in the area. They have a lot of cool stuff there. Both the owners are rad. I stop in when I can. They're open Monday through Friday, 11 to 7, Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sunday, 11 to 5. There is someone always there to help you out with your needs. You can check their inventory off the website. You can check out some videos they got on there, and they're doing some cool things. Their social media is awesome. They support a lot of local skaters in the area, and they're growing. I'm excited to be a part of them growing. I'm excited to help them out. They're helping me out. It's a good relationship, and I push 5 and Dime Easton because they're the best skate shop in the area. Check them out. BTG Blasting. My man, Pat Cunningham, offering you pressure washing, disinfecting, acid washing, and rust removal. It is a high pressure washing business, bringing your stuff back to glory. He does anything from houses all the way to having him come into the studio. He comes down to the studio on a schedule and he disinfects the studio, and we are certifiably clean, and it just covers all the bases. So with the things that are going on now, you're going to need somebody like this. He's got a sticker out front. I am certifiably clean down here. He also offers free estimates on all your needs. He can do corporate and at home. You can reach him at 484-241-1711 and btgblasting@gmail.com. He just started this business and it is taking off. I'm super excited for him, and I'm super excited that he's a sponsor of the show. And you can check out BTG Blasting on social media for all of your pressure washing, disinfecting, acid wash, and rust removal needs. It's high pressure washing, bringing your stuff back to glory. He offers many things, and you need to check him out.
Great, perfect.
Never Again Radio. I have no clue what episode this is. Welcome to Never Again Radio, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you? How's everything?
I'm good, man. I wanted to do this for a while. Schedules were conflicting. You're a busy man doing your own thing. I was finally able to wrangle you down here. Lately, I've been bringing some guys on from Finishers, and you're in the group of guys that, like, we know each other through passing, but we never get. And that was one thing I said to Zach. Like, I never got an hour to sit and talk and hear your story. So, like, I'm always interested on how people got to Finishers. So, like, when did jiu-jitsu and martial arts become a thing in your life?
Yeah. That's awesome. And thanks for having me. Like,
of course.
Like we said, it's just been so busy, but yeah, like, I don't know. I just this 20 minutes we've spent together is more time we've ever spent together.
Yeah.
Right?
Usually you're leaving or buying a burger or
you know, so
we've always seen each other in passing.
Yeah, I'm so grateful just to sit down and talk, you know. But yeah, so jiu-jitsu as a whole came into my life a little bit before Finishers, but I started jiu-jitsu like maybe when I was like 10. I was doing like Japanese jiu-jitsu, so the old school stuff that, you know, the Brazilians learned from the Japanese. A small like little dojo in like South Phillipsburg, like we were talking about, and that was more like a karate type thing, and I was interested in it and started becoming like the thing I did every single day. And then so some stuff happened, like I just didn't really like the instructor. It wasn't really like a school. The guy kind of just charged like maybe like I think it was like $30 a month, and he just kind of taught on the side, you know. It wasn't like his passion. And one of my cousins was here from Brazil, and he was driving by the mall, and right next to the mall there was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school, like Gracie Academy. And he was like, "Hey dude, like there's Brazilian jiu-jitsu here. You're Brazilian, you should do it." And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." So I really had no idea what it was even, you know. I just like had liked martial arts so far. It was a cool sort of thing to me up to that point. I had done, you know, basketball. I think I played baseball for like one day, and I was like, this is not for me.
I was forced to play.
Yeah, just growing up in like Brazilian culture though, you know, like soccer was super pushed. I did like capoeira when I was like 5 years old.
That's awesome.
So that was cool. But then when I moved from Newark, New Jersey to Phillipsburg. But like over in the country, so very different dynamic going from downtown Newark, you know, like Ironbound district, Brazilian steakhouses on every corner, and just so many people versus, you know, out in Peaburg, really in the middle of the woods too. So that was a huge change. But then no sports were really like making sense to me, you know. But then after I left the more karate Ishinryu type jiu-jitsu, started Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and literally like the first day, it was the feeling of empowerment to me at first. You know, I was like, when I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was like 12 years old. And it was just life-changing. Like right at first, you know, I felt comfortable. Somebody taught me something that I could have never even fathomed, you know. Like I learned how to do a triangle from guard. Like that's it, you know. And nowadays, like I teach that to some people, and their eyes don't jump like mine did in the past. You know, and I'm just like, come on, like you have to see the power here.
That's got to be that's got to be a very that's got to be a cool moment as a kid to realize that you like something that much. I mean, it's probably similar to like hitting a home run or you know what I mean, like finding your passion in a sport, and especially after you couldn't, you know, nothing was working when you hit that must have felt really cool.
Yeah, and you know what I'll relate it to still nowadays is empowerment, you know, like learning about like one thing I like to do, you know, like I fight, compete a lot, train a lot. I never like to like put myself above anyone, you know. I'm like always trying to work to see the technique, to see, you know, like what wins. It's just so interesting, right? And for me, it was always interesting because I was always smaller. I was always a kid, you know, going against grown adults, like grown men, you know, trying to choke me out, break my arm, do whatever. And just being able to defend at first was more than enough, you know. Just being able to, like, I'm in the worst position possible. I'm on my back. They're trying to hit me. How can I defend? That was very empowering, you know. And then I stayed there for like 6 years, just training like the basic Gracie stuff.
Oh wow, you were hooked.
Yeah, so like that was from like 12 to like 15, 16, like right when I was getting like my license and stuff. And right when you turn 15, 16, you can get your blue belt. So, but it's like sort of like sandbagging, they'll call it, you know, because it's like I've been a white belt for like four or 5 years. Yeah. And they're like, what are you doing, you know? But it's just what happens, you know. Like nowadays that's not weird, you know. Like Sid is a blue belt that's insanely so good, like blue belt. But nowadays kids turn 16 and like almost get their black belts in 2 years, you know. It's very natural. But right at that point that like I got my blue belt, I was sort of getting to the end, not the end of their jiu-jitsu, but their jiu-jitsu was very basic. It was very simple. And just the goal was survival, right? So that was the goal of like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know, like at first just, okay, I'm a smaller, less athletic individual. How can I protect myself against a bigger, stronger, more athletic opponent? And I don't need to submit you 100 times. I just need to defend. And then right when I feel the, like you getting tired, that's when I can start to attack, you know? So like it was a different mechanism of how to fight, you know? And right when I started getting in, like the whole time I was competing, but I really started to get into competing my freshman year of high school. I started wrestling too. So I started being like, okay, the more tournaments I do, the better I get. And wrestling came.
Was it easy to transition into wrestling then?
Just not hurting people was the only thing that I got. I actually never got that out of my system. Every wrestling coach I have will tell you that like I was one of the worst people to coach because like I would be in a good position and let it go to go for a submission in a wrestling match, you know? Just because like I don't know, wrestling was always fun to me. It was never like some people really loved it. And I respect wrestlers. I love wrestlers, you know. I wrestled in college too, but to me, I love the play aspect of jiu-jitsu. You know, I love like, but yeah. So I was in that part of my journey where like that survival, just staying alive, like it wasn't enough fun for me, and I wanted to compete more and stuff. So it's so funny that you say the finisher story because I don't really tell this story all the time, but it's just so funny how.
But everyone has a story that goes to the school.
You're so right. You're so right.
Because I told Zach that. I was like, I'm bringing Rene in. And I'm like, because when I interviewed Josh and George, it was more when George told his story because I didn't realize George.
I don't think I know George's story. Actually.
George was connected deep to Zach and JM when it started, which I didn't know.
Before.
Yeah.
They
like,
went to, yeah. I don't know the legit. I'll listen to the podcast.
Because George was getting into like how he started it, and then also like I asked Josh, and then Josh was like, you know, coming out of the military, and then I was just like, oh, like everybody has a story on how they got to finishers, especially the guys who are like decorated there, like yourself.
And thank you. And but it's so funny because it's like if the universe was a half second late, everything would have been different, you know. Maybe I wouldn't even be doing jiu-jitsu right now. But my dad, my mom, and my sister were walking through Bed Bath & Beyond, and it was maybe September of, let's say, 2013. Yeah, something like that. The year that they opened their own location, they're opening the location, I think in that same September. Excuse me. And, September. And my dad's walking through, and he always has supported me, you know, like, shout out to my dad. He's, like, like, my mom did even everything more for me, but my dad was the guy that pushed me, you know. He was like, do you want to do this? We're doing it every day, you know. And really, like literally,
that's huge.
When I mean like worked from like 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, would pick me up, drive me to jiu-jitsu, wait until 10 a.m. like not dip and do anything, would sit there and wait for me and watch and make sure I was comfortable. And you know, I owe everything to him, man. But he like he would always like support me, and still does, you know, but like would always flex my t-shirts and stuff, you know. And he was wearing a Naga Fighter t-shirt, one of the OG tournaments that, you know, people compete nowadays at every weekend at a new super fight thing. Or dude, back when I started jiu-jitsu, there was like 2 tournaments a year, and they were all really tough, you know. And Naga was one of them. Grappler's Quest was another one. Grappler's Quest, we both competed. This is a crazy tangent real quick. We were at a tournament where JM, I think, went against like Eddie Cummings or something like that, or Zach went against him, like a really good jiu-jitsu guy. And I remember like saying, oh, I was there that day on the Facebook post of JM and then this other guy, Louis Ho from 10 Planet Montreal. And I remember saying, oh, I was there that day. I swear to you. You look in the picture. This is not a joke. I'll pull this up. I'm in the back of the picture, in the stands.
That's cool.
Are you kidding me? Like, that was crazy. So that's fast forward, but rewind real quick. My dad and my mom and my sister at Bed Bath & Beyond, this guy that trained with them at the time, Dan, he owns like, what is it called? Energy Wellness that spot, and the guys lived with him forever.
Dan,
Dan Spy.
The Iceman.
Yeah, exactly. So he was working at Bed Bath & Beyond at the time, just in
That's
between.
right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
He's like such a successful business.
Yeah. I forgot his story was back
yeah.
there. I gotta have him back on.
So he saw my dad and like had the confidence, said what's up to my dad, was like, hey, do you compete? Do you do this? And my dad like always tells stories like, yeah, I'm like always like, yeah, like I could, like, I'm the champ. And I'm like, dude, you never trained it. Like he beat me up from
That's funny. He does
from when
that,
I was
though.
little to like when I was older. But like he always like says he does that, but he never does that. He always says that it's me. And he's like, no, but my son does. And he's like, dude, you should bring him to 10th Planet. Like, come try it out. And at that point in time, like I had zero idea who Eddie Bravo was. I had zero idea what the system, what 10th Planet was at all. I just knew I like wanted to train, and I knew I wanted to compete more, And I think they ended up like talking about that and saying how much I want to compete more, and sort of like how I was.
Were you living in the area at this time?
I'm still in Phillipsburg, still at the same spot that I'm at, But at that time, the jiu-jitsu spot was 8 minutes from my house, and then it moved to right next to Easton High School, right, which is
I started linking up with
18,
them when
18 minutes from my house. So it was only added 10 minutes to my drive.
Yeah.
So we went to go try it out, and same thing. I had no idea what it was going to be. For me at that point, all I had was like a rash guard and gi pants. Like we weren't even really wearing like no gi stuff all the time. Sort of would just take our gi tops off and just roll like that. Very like traditional. Like it's so funny to say that we have like a pure no gi school. Like it's like the coolest thing ever, I think. But so I went in, and I remember introducing myself to everyone, and everyone was super nice. Shout out to Big Chris from the Six. I think that's his Instagram. You remember that one guy, Chris Sabois. He was my age at the time, and he was a little bit bigger than me, and he was younger than me, but he was like the perfect training partner for me. So we trained that day. I remember training with Grace. I remember training with Zach and JM, and I don't really remember what we did. I just remember how I felt. I remember how I felt when we all trained, and it was so. We were all working together, we were all like going towards something, and like even the first day when I was just trying stuff that I'd never done before, both Zach and JM were like helping out and stuff and teaching, and they both just like helped me be even more creative. And I was already like trying to push the boundaries of like the 32 moves that we did, like trying to always do different stuff. And they pushed me to be more creative. And I went that time, I think 1 or 2 more times, and I like looked at my dad and like I was just like, this is it, and I started like just training a little bit more with them. And at that same time, it was like the junior year of my high school, so I was wrestling at the time too, and I started to really take that seriously. So it was like at the time I was maybe training like every day jiu-jitsu. Before that, right when I started training with them, I started training only like a couple times a month. So my jiu-jitsu like sort of slowed down, to the rate that I was used to, but it picked up in wrestling, but I always stayed in contact with them. That was literally like right in the beginning of the times of like when Grace went to her first EBI, and like, like back then, like it was crazy. Cause like, not that nobody believed in Grace, but like they were like, dude, she's a kid. And like I remember like the first time I trained with her, like she was like so small, and I just you felt that awareness, you felt that power already, I don't even think when I started training with them, Thor wasn't even around. I can't even believe that.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I was watching the Who's Number One thing that Zach shared, and it's like Chael Sonnen introducing Grace, and it's the fact that she's 19, because to me she's still so. I mean, that is so young, but like I remember first meeting her when they were doing the finisher tournaments, and like what you're saying, she was a kid, just destroying everyone.
Yeah, and I actually have a picture of me and her. Like I taught one gi class. Like we started training, hanging out, and having fun. And Zach was like, "Do you want to teach a gi class?" I was like, "Yeah. Do you want me to?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." George was there, Jam was there, Zach was there, Grace was there, and I have a picture of like Grace doing like some grip drills on me and stuff. But we never did that again. But yeah, it was cool. And then from there, it was kind of interesting how the journey went. I was thinking about it on the way here because, right, I don't tell this story all the time, but if it wasn't for social media, truly, like things would have been a lot more difficult, because I started drifting more towards wrestling, started to focus 100% on that. And I was probably training with them like a couple times a month, like just not.
Were you focusing
every day.
on it to get a scholarship?
Exactly.
Or?
Yeah. So it shifted to that. It shifted to like
smart though.
But at the time, that people don't understand, at the time, jiu-jitsu being your career was a joke. Like, and that's only like, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Or not 10 years ago, maybe like 6-8 years ago. Like, it was just a lot more difficult to just start a school, or even like the idea of competing, like maybe like 5-6 years ago, even like the idea of competing and making a lot of money was like, it was very difficult, but nowadays, like just with social media, everything, has kicked up. But what social media allowed me to do is like, as I was training for wrestling, as I was away for camps, and as I was away for wrestling tournaments, I was able to keep up with them and always continue learning. So I never went backwards, and every time I would go and train with them, like I would see what I'd be missing. I would see if it would help me for wrestling. If it didn't, I just sort of put it on the back burner. And then when I was going to college, I was like, man, like I really want to train jiu-jitsu, but there's nowhere to train jiu-jitsu. So I was like, I guess I do have to wrestle, but I wanted to wrestle at the time. It's just like I was looking for somewhere I could also train jiu-jitsu, and finishers was, where I wanted to be, but I ended up going to King's College in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And the first year was like very difficult not having any jiu-jitsu. Like I didn't have jiu-jitsu at all, other than like, I don't know, like 3 a.m. on a Friday. Some of my freshman roommates, wanted to try to choke me out. I was like, you guys don't get the game, But it was fun, and with wrestling it was okay. But I remember like right as I came home from my freshman year of college, I had gone to the Amazon and like did a research project there and like studied all these different cool things. And a group of people that I went with there told me that they knew how to start a club at school. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, to get what? Like, and they're like, well, we can get you paid to do all this jiu-jitsu and do all this stuff. And I was like, paid? Like, I don't want to get paid for jiu-jitsu. I just want to do jiu-jitsu. I don't care about money,
Well,
that's I'd rather pay for like rash guards and like seminars and, like different other things than to receive money for it. Like, I just want to keep my jiu-jitsu, like, I don't want to go backwards. That was my only
How
goal,
difficult was it to, because I mean, and everybody does this, but you kind of pass over it, but that was such a huge part of your life. And then to be like, to be somewhere new and growing as a person in college, and you have wrestling, but you're not itching that thing of the martial arts. How was that to deal with?
Well, it's so awesome that you asked that, because it's like, that's such a specific point, because to me, what jiu-jitsu is self-expression. And in wrestling, I can't really express myself as much, I think, or at least, like the time that I put into wrestling, it just wasn't equivalent. In jiu-jitsu, I feel like I can really, show my soul in like physical form in that match. And in wrestling, I didn't have that, so I was sort of yearning for it in different aspects. But at the same time, the jiu-jitsu part of your brain, it can turn off, but if you keep it going, it keeps going. So I just kept it going, and I just kept always learning, and especially, like, think about this. Before knowing Zach and Jam, I did not know anything about Eddie Bravo. And then I went to college, and while I was at college, I pretty much got like, not a PhD, but at least a bachelor's in 10th Planet. Like, because I was just, I wasn't home. And when I was home, I was training with them and making sure I was writing stuff down. But when I wasn't, how was I learning? I had to study stuff online. I had to study mastering the system. I had to study Eddie's old stuff. I had to study Eddie's new stuff. I had to study. And I didn't not only love Eddie, I loved everybody. I loved jiu-jitsu as a whole, So I was just studying so many different people. But what it allowed me a space for me to, so now this is my sophomore year. I like started the jiu-jitsu club, and I'm training like a couple days a week, and at least just doing 10th Planet stuff. But I always just got to continue my progress a little, like inch by inch.
So you started a club then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was my sophomore year, and we got to get rash guards. And if you watch, this is so crazy to point out. If you watch Grace's Flow commercial for Who's Number One, in that thing, Grace has a rash guard that says King's College Jiu-Jitsu Club across the front with that line. Like, do you remember that lion in the one where she'll say it says King's College Jiu-Jitsu Club? Like, and to me, like, I don't know, I just gave her that rash guard because she's the best, and like it was an extra rash guard I had. It says inch by inch on one sleeve, and it says train or don't on the other. Yeah. And that was the first thing we did, like with money we got. And
so does the school fund the club?
Yeah, like whatever clubs you do, you just have to show some sort of like fundraiser that you did, some sort of volunteer work. and you get
How
like,
awesome is that you put jiu-jitsu in there because you missed it so much? Like you wanted it that bad, and then you're like, fuck it. Like, I'm just like, but that's always the best stuff. And that's like always like Zach and JM, like that's just their mentality, you know, and I love working with people that are like that, where they're like, no, I'll create it. I'll do it.
But zoom in. Who else's life is it? It's your life. It's your life. You know what I'm saying? And I love jiu-jitsu. I can't even tell you all about it. I could literally stay here till 3 a.m. trying to explain it to somebody, but I really love it. So when I was away, I didn't have that, you know. It felt so good for me to put that into my Where
do you do
routine.
it out there? Do they have like do they do it in the gym, or did you have to find a
wrestled.
spot?
I wrestled. So I just told the coach, like we like asked to go out to lunch with him, and he was like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, really? That easy?
So then you use the wrestling room.
Are you kidding? The wrestling room was 10 times bigger than their original spot. It was more than perfect.
Yeah, it's
we
a
had
college
everything
wrestling room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
it was perfect.
Everything was ready to go.
It was awkward when this is my sophomore year of college. I quit wrestling halfway through the season because I just
still had to use the room. They didn't care, or
they sort of cared, but they respected me. You know, like it wasn't like I was quitting because I didn't want to do that. I was just quitting because like they couldn't handle that I didn't want to put wrestling as first priority.
Yeah,
and I wasn't a great wrestler, but I just didn't want to put it in first priority. I wanted to compete in jiu-jitsu and still train jiu-jitsu. And I was also an engineering and a science double major. So like I had a lot of stuff going on. I was always really involved with a bunch of different things. Like I was saying, like I did research in the Amazon. I did research pretty much every semester that I was like, that was study abroad. So we went to Peru.
Good for you.
Research there.
I love when people get to go. Eventually, I'm going to travel.
Yeah, we went to Machu Picchu too, and then it was perfect. And then that year that I was like, you know, like in limbo, like, oh, do I want to wrestle? Do I want to do jiu-jitsu? Like as I started doing more jiu-jitsu, I was like, man, I really miss jiu-jitsu. So it just gave me, and the fact that there's nobody there telling me what to do, you know, and this whole time, just like you're describing, you know, Zach's always in the back of my head, like on the phone, you know, telling me, do it. Yeah, you got this.
You want
know?
to talk to somebody. JM's the same way too. Just a little bit different of a delivery. But if you want to talk to either of them about like, you want to get some shit done, they'll tell you. I mean, when I was at a transitioning point with this, like both of them, when I had them on the show, and then afterwards, they both were like, "Yo, man, like you're killing it with this. Do this," and you know,
just follow your heart.
I remember both of them, you know, telling their stories. It's funny because I told Zach I want to have them both back on after they get back from Texas because they haven't been on the show because we've just been doing their own shows. But you know, they gave me so much advice with like just like you know, both of them have like lived in the dojo, living on a couch, and it's like, you know, it's like when you're doing that stuff, it's scary. And then when you got somebody telling you like, no, I did it, and then you see where they're at, they're awesome people to have in front of you.
But when we believed in them, when you believed in them, when I did too, like they didn't look like that. They don't look like how they do now, right?
No,
like
not at all.
What's JM driving, a Charger or something? High level, like you know. So like for me back in the day, like they weren't looking to get anything out of me, you know. Like it was such a natural like transition because like what was awkward was at that time then, right? I'm in college, like since I left my other school, like my coach back there never wanted to talk to me again, and that was so weird to me. I was like, man, how could you not see that this is what's best for me, you know? It was like a very awkward transition. Like a lot of like schools have that transitioning like awkwardness, you know. It's sort of like they think that they're like entitled to everything that they did for you, you know what I'm saying? So that was awkward. But Zach, like since day one, you know, like was just always so helpful, so always so like just guiding me, you know. And I got to have that space to do literally whatever. Like these people that I was teaching had zero jiu-jitsu knowledge, sometimes a little bit, but most of the time non-existent. So I got to literally grow. My basic game was already really good of like fundamentals. I got to grow my like extracurricular type game, like all the 10th Planet crazy stuff. I got to work on it from like beginning to, you know, getting a couple people even to blue belt. So it ended up being like so important to me. And then I ended up like, I was in this program and didn't end up catching the grades and ended up like trying to like do something else and was still trying to do engineering and stuff, but just had this like crazy like pivotal moment where I was like, you know, hustling my face off. I was back on the wrestling team. It was my senior year. I was like on my way to a practice in the morning, just like biking. And I remember like coming to the end of the street and just always had my headphones on, hood up, like just focused on myself and not really anybody else, you know. And it was like 5 a.m. This car skids, like it's wet, foggy, like almost hits me, like so, like dead on. And I just like barely like turned around, like had not only like my backpack, but I would have my wrestling backpack with my school backpack on under it. And I would, you know, I wouldn't be going back to my house for the rest of the day, so I would have all the stuff I need for the whole day. So I was just like weighed down, you know. And like they just drove off, and like I was fine, but I just felt like this so like awakening moment for a second. I was like, if that was a second faster, you know, like where would I be right now? You know, like what would have just happened? And what was I chasing? What was I looking for? You know? And it just put me at this reflection point of like, I wasn't rush anymore. I was like, what am I doing? You know, what am I putting my time into? Where is my love going? You know, like, if it just made me feel that like death feeling of like, if it ended right now, like what would I have done in my life, you know? Those
are crazy moments, and I've only experienced them that I can recollect is when extremely close people have died. Mm-hmm. Like when my best friend died, and then everything stops. Mm-hmm. And then you like all the stress, all like it was just so I'm connecting on what you were saying, where it's like, where am I going? And like, you know, I remember getting that phone call, and you know, I'm not sleeping the night before because I'm worried about the show and all this stuff, and it's just noise, and it's super loud. It's like a stadium yelling. And then when you have those real life moments, and it just goes, and all that just goes boom, and you're just like, what's important in my life right now? And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, the bills, all this nonsense that's controlling my life and leading me places, they're not the things that I enjoy. So why are these the things that are taking a part of my life? And then like, when you have those moments when you're like, really can reflect, and if you stay present in that, even if it's for like 10 seconds, you can literally alter your life in another direction.
Yeah. So for me, it like posed that question of like, what are we trying to do here? You know, like, cause
they're important moments. Granted, it was you almost getting hit by an IROC Z at college.
Yeah, it was insane, and it was like you just said, like if you can hold that state for like 10 seconds, that's cool. I feel like I was in that state for days.
Yeah,
like I had, and it's because like school really brings you out in a bunch of different directions, you know.
Yeah.
And I always put my heart into school, you know. As much as like I didn't get all the grades, like I was not good at math, I was not good at science, and I just growth versus fixed mindset. I just totally believed, and I still do. Like I preach to all my students, like in jiu-jitsu and in school, you know, like I preach to them, like if you believe it, like and you do the things you're supposed, like you can do it. You can. Some people are just more apt to learning quicker. Like that's it, you know. Like everyone has their thing, and I really think I don't know. I've always believed in hard work, and it was tough, you know, like because I was like doing all the school stuff, but I always wanted to feel fulfilled through jiu-jitsu, and at the same time, like I don't know, I just like to stay busy, so I'm like, you know, doing volunteer stuff and fundraising and all this other stuff for just the school, you know, just always like to stay busy. But in that period of reflection, like it was a weekend right before finals, a roommate at the time, I had two roommates. One roommate trained with me, was one of my best friends, and the other roommate had trained with us a couple times, but didn't train that much. The whole weekend I'm like trying to finish all this work and stuff, and I'm telling them about my, you know, these life thoughts, and they're always just like, oh, that's Rene, like whatever, you know. But the whole time I'm watching jiu-jitsu videos, and it's so funny to think about, but he just my one friend that didn't do jiu-jitsu really, he just points at the like TV, and he's like, well, why don't you like do jiu-jitsu? And I was just like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, why don't you just like teach jiu-jitsu and like compete? And he's like, you're already like really good teacher and really good like you know, just a really good like competitor, like why don't you just like go after that? And shout out to Nick and Eduardo. But Nick, he looked at me and said that, and I was just like, me? Really? You know, like what do you mean, you know? And it just, that was, so it went from like awareness to like fire. I was like, yeah, let's do that. Like if I didn't have, you know, if I had till midnight tonight to live, you know, at least what I gave to people through jiu-jitsu, that was as much like as like my soul and physical form that I could leave here than anything to me, you know, because like the way I was seeing it in my head was just like, doesn't matter what like at the time what I was studying in school, like civil engineering, environmental engineering, like sustainable engineering. I was studying like different like types of like remediation for mining sites and different, you know, sustainability programs for like colleges and businesses. And I was like, none of that stuff will ever make me this happy, you know? Like I want, like my goal when I went to college was like, I want to save the world, you know? Like I had this like aspect of like preserving nature instilled in me from like my parents growing up in Brazil and being really connected to it, and then really seeing how that's lost here in America, you know? I wanted to like just be that person in the world to like help the world. But I don't know, it just made me look inward on like, hey, like I can pursue something that's going to make me not only happy, but is also going to like leave my legacy here, you know? And I don't know, for me, like what's so cool about it is that the aspect of jiu-jitsu is like, it's truly to, I think, infinity. Like it's like so interesting how there's so many different, you know, iterations of like what you can do to like solve a problem. And I don't know, people always relate it to like life, but it's truly the way, you know? There's always a different way to look at it. There's always like, you're always like stuck in a position and people are always like, well, do I move this way or this way? I'm like, try it. which way works? I don't know. Like sometimes I don't know which way will work. I'll try one way, boom, I got choked out. Boom, I go the other way, boom, I got out. You know, so once you can break stuff down, I think to like smaller little pieces like that, it can really work out. So from there, that was like, I had that fire in me and I was like, well, now what am I gonna do? I was like, call Zach. So
well, that was my follow-up was like, how did you transition and change then? Because it's a big decision at college and everything else you got going on. And what did you move around in order to start pivoting your life?
Do you want me to pull up? I can pull up the voicemail I had from my dad when I called him. I said, hey, man, I'm going to put this 200K you put into the, it wasn't 200K, it was maybe like 150, probably 150.
180.
into college. I was like, do you want to put this money like into the dirt? I'm just going to do jiu-jitsu like I was already doing before. Like he was about to cry, you know, like my parents immigrated here from Brazil, like super, not rough life in Brazil, but just it's not a first world country. And they worked really hard their whole lives. So like I was first generation college. You know, my dad like went to 6th grade like 3 times, like couldn't pass. My mom,
they were super proud of what you were accomplishing.
So like already. Even if I just like graduated with like a writing major, you know, but for them I was going to school to be an engineer, like, and that was right.
That's huge.
Maybe I fast forwarded through that. Like that was the burden, you know. I felt like I needed to be an engineer to make them proud, you know. And
that's a lot to carry.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I felt on my. Remember I was saying I was on the bike.
Double book bag.
So like I felt like that, and I was just like, I just felt like it wasn't mine. It wasn't my dream, you know.
Yeah.
And at that point that I believed in the jiu-jitsu, you know, I was like, all right, let's follow this up. Let's see how we can do it. I called Zach, and it was, you know, same thing. If the universe was half a second late or half a second too fast, we wouldn't be exactly how we are. Zach's always so funny. He just like lets you talk and like lets you express that emotion, and then just sort of like helps you like in different areas. But he like let me talk for like, I think it was like 20 minutes just straight about like how I felt about it. And I called JM too and we talked about it. But Zach was the person that told me, he's like, well, because I offered, I was like, I'll teach any classes. I can graduate. So it was I was supposed to do 5 years. I was supposed to get a civil engineering major and environmental science major. And it was my 4th year in the fall. And I moved my credits around. Like it was like that finals week, I pulled a bunch of credits out and ended up being able to graduate that next semester with just my environmental science degree, still with a bunch of engineering credit, but just not that degree. And then I told Zach, I was like, I can graduate this May and then do jiu-jitsu full time. And at that time, I had never done jiu-jitsu full time. So like that was always the dream, you know, like watching people in California just surf and go to the beach and train and compete. And I'd never been able to give it 100%. It was always my side hustle, but that was where my true passion like was kept, you know. And as I'm on the phone with Zach, he goes, well, you know what, Gabe is moving to Miami to open up 10 Planet Miami. And at that time, Gabe was teaching all this. This is so much of a throwback. This was like only a couple years, this was like I think 3 years ago. Gabe was teaching all the morning classes, and I think most of the beginners kids classes, and I think Zach and Jan would teach the advanced ones. So he was like, dude, do you want to take a bunch of the morning classes and a bunch, like all the kids classes? I was like, yeah. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I would have taken a Friday 6 a.m. class, and I can't wake up in the morning. I would have taken anything, you know? And that was like the first thing that the universe was like, yep, you got this. And then I called Gabe, and Gabe was like, I'll give you all my people that I give private lessons to too. And then my jaw dropped. Like, cause I was just like, now I can't be scared of this, you know, now I have to run face into it. And for me, like that just really kickstarted like, I have to get after this, you know? And I started competing and started training full time. And I don't know, to say that I can't even begin to thank for like half of that stuff is like, it's all been so natural. It's always been so authentic and so real, just because like it's not something that I'm like putting on a act about. You know, I can talk about jiu-jitsu, and I'm so interested in the journey of figuring it out with students. And you know, like I don't know, I compete all the time to show, hey, I'm not just laying on the couch pointing at something. I'm saying like I'm getting after it, and I'm gonna show, you know, either they're coming back on my sword, or I'm on my shield, you know, either way. And it's been so cool because they've always supported me, you know, like my sophomore year I did a research project in Brisbane, Australia, and was doing same sort of thing, like looking at like remediating like mines and stuff. And over there they don't have that much water, so I was like working with how we can like more efficiently use it in different systems. And it was it's been a very, Australia's, shout out to Frank Barca, 10 Planet Melbourne, 10 Planet Brisbane, Adelaide, everyone. But man, to talk about them going through the ringer, like now with this lockdown stuff, wow, that stuff's crazy, you know? I don't want to get canceled on YouTube already though, so we won't even talk about that. But
yeah, they're not allowed to do anything.
Yeah, I know, but just other people, you know. But when I got there, they were supposed to open up 10th Planet Brisbane the weekend that I got there. I was leaving on a Friday. It's like 22 or 28 hour plane ride with the 18-hour difference. It's like moving almost 3 days. So like, ugh. I was leaving on Friday, not getting there till like Monday or Sunday or something. But Friday night they were training, and Saturday morning, hard to keep up a little bit, but let me know if I need to clarify. But it's Friday night they're training. Saturday they're opening 10th Planet Brisbane, you know, and sort of like JM and Zach did. I forget where their transition point was, but they go from being a normal school to like the brand of 10th Planet, you know. So that's when this guy was going to do this. Adam Gray was getting his school from Frank Barca. Frank ran the Melbourne school and was a black belt and everything. And super unfortunate. Adam's like 39 or 38 at the time. He's training with his students, walks out of his school and has a heart attack.
Oh.
In front of all the students, you know. And I can't even, you know, we've been going through stuff and they've gone through that, you know. It's crazy, but makes you just realize how quick life goes, you know. But then I showed up on Monday still because I was there for research, you know, for school. And like the guys ended up still hitting me up and still being like, hey, like, we can still hang out and we can still train. I was like, no, it's okay. Like, you guys don't have to do anything. I totally understand, you know. And Zach was the person that texted me this because he heard about it through the 10 Planet like forum thing. But then I got there, you know, Frank was super welcoming to me. I met him in Melbourne first, and then I headed to Brisbane. And he told me, he was like, hey man, like if they want to train, just train, and if not, like, I'm sorry. But like, I was like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, no sorries, man. Like, you know, you guys go through what you have to go. This was like the week that I got there, you know.
Yeah.
Super intense. The guy was like my level, like in their system. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just a huge, not saying that I'm like that, but just like an instructor that led a whole school, and you know, and was so powerful to all these people. But then yeah, I'm there, and I'm a young purple belt, been training for a long time, can teach really well just because I've been teaching for a long time too. And I ended up like I was doing research for almost like 10 to 12 hours a day, and just sitting in a chair in the lab. And needed that expression, was in Australia, you know, and ended up being able to teach there for like almost like 8 weeks.
That's crazy.
So ended up like really like it was just such a natural experience. Like I felt like, not like I needed to be there for them. I just felt like, I was like, man, these people are hurting. I was like, let me distract them. You know what I'm saying? Let me bring them back to what they came to, you know? And that was instilled in me through Zach, because I was like, Zach, what do I do? How can I be there for them, you know? And he was like, you could just do jiu-jitsu and just be yourself and just spread that positivity, you know? So that was the first time for, like, before that I had taught, you know, not really at 10, I wasn't really teaching at 10th Planet at all, but I would teach, like at the Gracie School, I'd run classes forever and all these classes. But that was one of the first times, that was like the first year of the jiu-jitsu club. So I'd been running the jiu-jitsu club, but this was a whole school somewhere else that I got given the respect to just like teach, you know? And it was just like one of those first times where I was just like, man, like, can I do jiu-jitsu for a living? Like, this is really cool. Like, I remember like calling my dad one day, like, yo, what if I stayed here and just like ran this school?
What
and,
were
like,
their thoughts
did
at
jiu-jitsu?
this point? Because you're not, like, you are pursuing this. Are they still behind you on it? And or are they still kind of
Right
like,
now or then?
then? Were they like still kind of
no,
like in
my
a
dad-
gray area?
No
like,
way. Still now. Still now. They do not, like,
Yeah.
my mom is very happy I have a normal job, you know? But they support me being happy, but we have, like, you have to understand the perspective of, like, you know, just like stability and, you know, like that,
Dude,
that's just their perspective. And we have to, I don't know. I feel like as much as I have to, I already have told them how I think about it, you know,
Yeah,
but
no,
I have to respect it.
with my situation, it's like I started when I was 28. And then it was probably 8 or 9 years in, they were like, hey, he's not going to stop.
Yeah.
And then now they're like,
I don't know how they don't know though, because I train every day, all the time. Like,
I guess it's because it's like very similar to what you said, where like they want you to do good. So like, you know, my parents wanted me to go to college. They wanted me to be a doctor. They wanted me to be these things that they wanted me.
it wasn't just my parents.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's parents back then. I don't know
Yeah.
how it is now. They probably just want people to be YouTube stars.
Yeah,
But
right.
you know, like my parents, so like they I could always tell they were like torn between like telling me like, yo, this isn't gonna work, and I just never stopped.
Yeah.
But now it's like I call them, and it's funny because you were saying like it's just natural. Like there's so many, like you brushed over it so politely, but like there are so many ups and downs on that journey where
Oh,
you're
for
like,
sure.
can I do this? Can I not
Oh,
do
yeah.
this? So much self-doubt, and if you keep pushing forward, you get to your goal. So like I think it was more of my parents, finally I made them believe in me because I fought so hard to go after it, where now it's like, you know, I call them and I'm like telling them all this stuff going on, and like they're now excited to like tell their friends. They're like, I can't wait till you're in
yeah.
that new studio, because all their friends over the time will be like, oh, is Michael working?
Yeah.
Like is
Yeah.
he really have a job?
yeah,
Like what's that? But
exactly.
now it's
Yeah.
like 12 years later where like,
That's so crazy. 12 years. That's
Yeah,
12 years for me. It's
12 years,
12 years
man.
for me doing jiu-jitsu right now too.
dude, it's
I started when I was 11, 12. I'm 24 right now.
yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy to that. But yeah, so Australia was a very important part of my life. Really helped me just believe in myself more, and just, you know, just I was like, man, I think I could do this, you know. And man,
It's got to have
I-
taken
I don't-
doubt away when you're in another country doing it.
Well, there's still doubt that I know no
There's
jiu-jitsu,
always
you know.
doubt.
But it was the people that pushed me. Like, for example,
Yeah.
like I was about to say, like I don't want to tear up, but I'm almost gonna tear up because Frank, the guy down there, man, he is. And that's the thing. It's the same thing with like Zach and JM, and it's the same thing with like when people believed in you when you had nothing going for you.
Yeah.
And right, that's what we say as an observer, right, of like ourselves, but it's always there, you know, and that's what they just have to believe, not in the. And Frank, I remember like him dropping me off last time he's gonna talk to me. He's like, 1,000 miles per hour, you got it, gas pedal, like he goes, if you want to be the best person, he goes, and it's so funny because like, I don't know, to me it's not even about being the best person, it's about just figuring it out a lot, you know, like understanding jiu-jitsu as a whole. But he was like, dude, you could be top 10. And that's the thing. It's not even about being top 10 in the world. He said top 10 in 10th planet. And to me, like at the time, like that was so huge. Like him saying that to me, I was like, really? Like I'm not even probably top 100 right now. Like if I could break top 50 ever, I'd be like, wow, that's huge. And it's not even a legit ranking system. It's just like sort of thrown around. But that was a big piece of confidence. I came back from that and, you know, started doing my homework class. And on the weekends, like I was just, you know, like those phone memories come up on your phone, like for photos. All the time comes up like what I was doing on the weekends during college. And I had school, I think, every day from like 9 a.m. to like 5 p.m. because I always had like labs all day and it would always just be filled. I would wrestle or lift in the afternoon and then go to jiu-jitsu every day. And then almost every other weekend, like I was never somebody to go out and drink and do all this stuff. Like I was always doing either jiu-jitsu or like, I don't know, something, going for a hike, doing something different. But it was crazy because I would like drive to like Brooklyn to watch Zach and JM fight somewhere, and I would fight somebody in like Brooklyn, New York, or like just all these different places we were going to at the time. I flew to Cali to watch JM fight at the second combat jiu-jitsu match he did.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just continue. Like I went to John Jock's, you know, shout out John Jock, Hicks and Grace, everybody. No, Jean-Jacques. That was the first time I met him there, and it was really cool. And that was like sort of cool because like, I had delved into this jiu-jitsu aspect of just competing and stuff. And then I had been brought back to the roots of like the Brazilian aspect of it with meeting Jean-Jacques. So that was like super important to me. And then, yeah, like it kept putting like we highlighted the word natural before. Like it kept putting like that. I just kept feeling more of like almost
it's
myself.
It's like putting a puzzle together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it just kept going that way. And then,
it's weird because when when you're on the correct path, and I'll have conversations with my mom about it, but I can't describe the feeling, and I'm sure you've had it, but like you just like you're like, oh, all right, like this is like when it all comes together and it's like boom, and you move 1 foot forward, you're just like, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. You can't describe the feeling, but I know what you're going through.
And then graduating and then teaching full time and doing that, and I did that for almost like a year and a half. Then, shout out to Ray and CC in Temple in New York City.
Yeah, because you went over there. What's funny is this whole story, I was like over here. Because like I remember working with Zach on like when I just started first going to the finishers is when I first started meeting Gabe, but then I wasn't there that long when Gabe started going out. And then I remember seeing you teaching more, and then like the conversations I would have with Zach where he's like, yeah, Rene's going to start teaching more. So like this whole time you're talking when you're at the school, it's like I'm just going over here.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to bring these people in, because I didn't know your story.
So they, right when they opened Temple in New York City, they were like, oh, we need 1 day off. Can you teach 1 day? I was like, can I teach 1 day? I was like, I'm allowed to teach 1 day. Like, are you kidding me? So that was huge for me, another aspect of like people.
So then were you commuting to both schools?
Yeah. So I was still living in Phillipsburg, but that's the thing. No excuses. Like just
what's that drive?
Run after
an hour?
No, I was taking the bus most of the time. Driving was like a little bit more expensive. It was like barely, I don't know, I wasn't making any money regardless, but like eating one meal in the city, I was like, oh, that's my money for the day. Like,
no, believe I've gone into the city.
But that was living, for me at the time. Like that was just, I was thriving. I was looking for privates and stuff, and it was really important to me because it was another aspect that I was just running after it, training really hard still, giving them all of that, and like to see them grow from like a small studio to like a legit successful studio. Like I tell them all the time, like, I know you guys are killing it when I see so much gear on people. You know what I'm saying? Like you see people with the hat and with the hoodie and with the rash guard and with the shorts. I'm like, somebody's making money, but that makes me so happy to see them grow from like such a small dream to like actually that reality. And then right before COVID happened, I got offered this gig to start teaching full time. And of course, I didn't want to go back from full jiu-jitsu, but what I had the aspect of the idea was that at that time, this was, I don't even know when COVID happened, to be honest, 2020, right?
I think it's all blur.
2020, March 2020.
Yeah, you're right.
Snipe it.
Yep.
Right before that, I was looking for this job already. I already had set all these things in plan to like start my teaching certificate and stuff. And then, and why that was because I was like, you know what? Like, let me start teaching. Actually, no, that's not true. Let's go back. Another plug to another one of my sponsors, like, and just a quick asset, right? Craig Merrick, Made Strength.
I had him on the show.
He's
crazy dude. He's awesome.
He's the man. He's supported me. Same thing. Supported me since day one. I started training with him maybe like senior year of high school, and then I restarted training with him like right after I graduated from college. So he got to see me at different points. But what happened was his wife, Miss Merrick, actually today's her birthday. I texted her this morning. Happy birthday, Miss Merrick. She was my AP physics teacher. So that's how I got linked to Craig back in the day. And then she had always followed me through my journey, and I was always just somebody just always thanking people to help me, and if it wasn't for her and my other teachers that put me on my course to do engineering, like I wouldn't even been able to like tie my shoes on the first day, they really helped me. So she texted me, like, I think it was like February of 2020. She's like, hey, like, would you be interested in this, this, and this? And I was like, oh, like, let me look at it. And I looked at the classes I'd be teaching, and I saw like the one class that I love, sustainable engineering. And I was like, oh man, I don't care what other class I have to teach. As long as I have that class to teach, I have my own classroom. I can do it, like all these, new type lessons and different things, and, really like make this a class that kids want to do.
Now you got freedom of expression and teaching to students now.
And it's a little bit more of a box because it's in a school, like in jiu-jitsu it's so cool so I can just be myself, but in school, like I have to make it a little bit more more professional, you know. But it's
not a bad thing to have in your toolbox
to
be able to turn on and off.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it was an aspect where I can continue that I want to save the world type thing, you know, because what I learned in college with looking at like these specific environmental problems was that solves one problem. There's so many problems in the world. How do you solve all the problems? Do you lead the horse to water, or like, you know, like, so I thought it was like, through different research things I did, like what we ended up doing for like 3 years was we conducted a sustainability review of our college, and we scored like negative. And we were like, we don't want to put up for, we pay for this. We want to fix this. So we ended up like creating a sustainability initiative, making our school was recycling. We made them recycle hard, you know, like we made them recycle a lot more. We did a bunch of like environmental initiatives and all this stuff, created community garden. We went to present at national conferences and stuff, published various papers of research.
And you did this all for your school?
For our school, yes.
That you teach at?
No. So this was college. Like I was just at King's. So while we were studying there, while I was doing engineering, we were studying. We pretty much what we did, we made a methodical approach to look at not our school but any school, and gauge the sustainability they have throughout the school, and not gauge it through the faculty and not gauge it through the students, but gauge it through every component combined. So. For example, what we were talking about sponsors before, if you want to sponsor something or do something, like it's going to go to the right routes, you know, and be efficient and really help, rather than, you know, like buy like 1,000 water bottles for kids to reuse. Like, you know, like we did, like we tried to take the best route to put the money in the right spots. And we ended up making a lot of big waves, like ended up like, you know, like speaking at all these events and doing all this stuff. But what I learned through that, like, right, dragging the horse to water type thing, like I was like, you have to, if we empower people and if we teach people, that's more than I can solve with any problem, because that can continue to infest other people with the idea of,
it's going to go out way further.
And the idea isn't sustainability, and, you know, the idea isn't this. The idea is just like, just take care of the earth, just be somebody that cares about stuff, and just try to help, and just try to be you know, I don't know, when you feel the pressure of like what's actually going on in the world, like in terms of the environment and what we can actually do about it, like that's the thing. People are not empowered. People don't think that they can do something about it, you know. So giving people the right facts, showing them what they can focus on, rather than like, oh well, what about this, what about this, what about this? It's like, control what you can control, and that's it, you know. So I learned that in college, and I was like, man, I can continue this in school. So all my classes have sustainability heavily integrated, along with like not just, oh guys, we're on page 64, we're doing all, like, we're always thinking, we're always talking about not the news, but talking about what's going on in the world with like climate change and different you know, like thinking systems of different problems and stuff, and looking at science and stuff. So that was like a super important transition for me, because before that I was like 75% teaching, 25% training for myself. And at that point, that was right March of 2020. The end of 2020 was going to be ADCC trials. So if we rewind like maybe like a couple months, it's September of 2019, and Thor is going to ADCC. And, you know, I watched Thor come from like being already really good to the best in the world, you know. So just being like, I watched him, I was getting my face slapped in by him when he won EBI in 8 minutes, you know. And like Grace, I've always believed in him so much. So what I wanted to do for myself was, when I left school, you know, like what we were talking about, I felt like jiu-jitsu was the way I can leave my soul, my legacy here in physical form. I wanted to see, by going to ADCC, do I want to push myself and get to this level, or am I cool with just teaching, you know? Because I'll still compete at everything, you know, but I just won't. It's a different focus, you know? Yeah. So I was like, I want to feel the energy in that room, and I want to see if I want to do it, you know? Like, I want to see if I want to push myself to that. And I can't even, we walked in, I was like, yup. I was like, yup. Like, this is, you know, the guy that organizes it, Mo Jassim, like, man, he did it up, you know, went from being like just a high level grappling tournament to like a high level production with the grappling tournament. So really set the stage really high. And then Thor goes out, takes fourth as like a first time there, all this stuff. And what he did then and what he did at EBI, both times to me were like, doesn't matter who it is, you can do this, you know, because I watched him do it, you know. Yeah. And same, I mean, Grace is an anomaly. Like, she doesn't count because she's just perfect. But even that one loss she has, like, that's not a loss. Like, we know what happened. But Thor, for me, is like, we've just always been like sort of the same size and stuff too. So he's always, and I've never caught him. You know, I've always gotten beat up, still do. But it just empowered me to say that, like, hey, I can do that too. And then we came back, and you know, a couple months passed, and I like sort of wanted to shift my training. I wanted to shift not 25% training. I wanted more training. So my plan right before COVID, right, was like, man, I'm gonna get this job. I can shift to 75% training, maybe even 80 and 20% teaching jiu-jitsu, right? And nowadays my training is probably like 90% and then 10% teaching. Like, I really don't teach that much. And that's only fast forward a year and a half, you know?
Yeah.
But then that's March, COVID happens, crazy. Didn't get my job until like that following year. But then all throughout the pandemic, you know, we've done jiu-jitsu and started competing like a month after the pandemic. So everything was fine, you know? And I don't know, now, like, how we're here now, I don't even know, to be honest. From there, like, it's just things have happened so naturally with competing. And, you know, it'll be my first time competing at ADCC trials in November 6th. It's like 45 days away. But I don't know, like, I just feel like I feel good in going for it. You know, I feel good in, like, I don't need to be at this top level. I want to one day not only like show my kids the impact I left in people's lives, but also tell them, hey, I want you to go for it. At one point in my life, I went for it, you know?
Yeah.
And at that point, right, like, that I had the 2 backpacks on, almost got hit by the car. Like, it really wasn't that close, but it was just close enough to stop my heart, you know? At that point too, like, I felt like, man, like, why can't I try my best? Why can't I, like, just see where the cards will lie after that, you know? So, I don't know, like, that's just what I'm chasing. I'm not chasing for me to be the best jiu-jitsu person in the world. I'm just chasing to show my students that my jiu-jitsu works, and empowerment, you know? Like, when I compete, I don't like to be like mean to people. I don't know, it's the technical aspect of it, you know? Excuse me. That just excites me still, you know, even when I compete.
What was interesting when you were talking about getting the teaching job and you know, taking what you learned from college and now applying it into the kids, like, that's what I think a lot of people need to pay attention to, is that, you know, when you went for it and you're going in your path, the things that you learned before always come back naturally, that you can apply later in life, especially when you grow to a point that you could use them. So it had to be fulfilling, you know, it's probably so much less you're getting from your parents because you got that job, but then to take what you learned from college, and that wasn't a waste of your parents' money, because now you're affecting youth in a manner where, like, you know what I mean? Like, you took something you learned when you went there. It wasn't like you just went there and got drunk for a bunch of, you know what I mean? And wrestled and left and it was a waste of money. Like, there's things that impacted you there, and then you took it back and applied it. And, like, I think that's, like, the most important part about everything, what your journey is, and, like, how you use the yin and the yang, and, like, how you present yourself. It's all making sense to me now, because everything that you do, you're kind of using in a full circle, and you're taking things that you learned and you're not wasting them, and you're recycling that knowledge from what you learned from college back into these students, and you're doing it with your jiu-jitsu, and it's pretty cool how your entire story evolves but just keeps intertwining with each other through the same thing. How you present yourself makes way more sense to me now, because your story is very unique to you. It's why I wanted to have you on here. I mean, you're very different than most of the people at Finishers. There's a lot of, everyone at Finishers has a unique and different aspect, but you carry yourself way different than a lot of people there, and you kind of stand out to me in the ways that you present yourself here. So it was cool to hear how you got here and where all of it came from, and, like, how you kind of mold all that stuff together. You're a very unique individual that is very self-aware at a young age, and I feel like you carried the respect and things from your parents, and you instill it in your teaching and your jiu-jitsu and everything about life. You're a very unique individual.
Wow, thanks. Covering for me coughing and getting water.
No, you're all right, dude. I'm gonna wrap up. I don't want to keep you here. You got a job and shit.
No worries. No, but man, and that's, I don't know, like since day one with Zach and JM, you know, with Zach and JM, you know, I've been able to like gain the, not even the respect, but like the view of like so many people, you know, through them, through 10th Planet, you know, like this summer I got to hang out with Eddie Bravo for like a month, and John Jock, like in California, not doing anything other than jiu-jitsu every
crazy.
day, you know, like
I saw it too when you were doing it, and you could just tell how happy you were.
everyone asked me how it was. I was like, how was it? Me doing what I love every day? Are you kidding me? And I went out there and I went and I competed. I trained with them for a week and then went out and competed in a tournament and won it. Like it was surreal because to me, like just to be able to like literally be in a room with those guys, like you're talking about the self-awareness thing, for me, like I just really try to learn from other people. I really try to like and growing up in that martial arts environment just allowed me to, like, I don't know, I'm so not perfect, but just allowing me to analyze myself all the time, analyze all these other people and what they do, and just learning and just sitting around and like listening to that kind of stuff. You know, I think through jiu-jitsu, the technical aspects of it and the mentality of it will like really help you like see just situations differently, I think, in your life. And
I also like how you carve out time. Like you carved out time to go do that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people miss out on because they don't go after what they want and what they feel and what their passions and what that. And when you don't do that, that's when you miss out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you didn't have that moment where you were like, I'm going all in and I'm doing this, you would have never created 2 weeks to go compete and spend that time.
Yeah.
Because the old you would have been like, I'm not going to be able to do that. I got all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
But when you break that mold, then you start creating time and cutting out your own history and how you want to live your life.
Yeah. Well, right, you kicking it to that is the biggest reality for me that I've realized since then is like, right, sort of you touched on an important aspect, like the yin yang, like the movement and the universe and the Tao and whatever way everything's going. Once you can't, like, you're gonna think about it and write it down and like share some Instagram posts. But once you believe in your heart that's the only way that it could have been is the way that it is.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part, you know? And like, of course, me saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I believe that. Of course, there's so many levels to it, you know? And just following that, like, I believe 100%. If that guy would have been 5 minutes late and I would have kicked it, you know, I would have been fine and not ever had that moment, I would have died another way. 100%. 100%. Not because I was going towards that way or being that kind of guy, just because that's what I think. I think like in another reality, I would have some other way would have not been the way, you know? And nowadays it's just like, I try to take like almost every single decision like that. I try to make like every single decision like, if this was literally the last thing I did, last thing I was about to do, last thing I was about to say to you, you know, like would I like give it my all or not, you know? And I just try like to be a good person. I try to be somebody that, like, you know, I don't know, other people want to be around and other people want to just like, I don't know, especially, I mean, but I know I was alive before COVID, you know? So like, but like even nowadays, like especially nowadays, people are so caught up in so many different things. And for me, just bringing people to like just the present moment and just being like, hey man, everything's okay. Like be grateful for what you have. And, you know, like just be here now, you know? Like, I don't know, like people bring things in so many different directions and, you know, chase material things and this and that. And it's just like, man, like what you're going to care about if you pass away like tomorrow is like how you hung out with the people right now.
Yeah.
You know, if you were on your phone, like, and of course everyone's on their phone all the time, but like how you give people attention, how do you give people, you know, love, and, you know, how, like what kind of impact are you looking to give on the world, you know? What are you looking to get out of your life? Like, those are just some of the stuff I think about all the time, you know? And through finding this exact, you know, like when I was in Australia and all that stuff happened, like I was like, man, like I was talking to this guy on the way here, you know, like how could that have been? And I didn't even know him, you know? It was just like I was looking forward to that so much. He was so nice and welcoming already that when that was cut out of my life, I was like, what? Like, what just happened, you know? And then so many real things have happened. Like a couple weeks ago, they had another guy down there that was a really good instructor down there, passed away, Shane. Man, crazy. And then we had, you know, Zach. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't even get into that. Zach, man, backcountry leg locks forever, you know? But that's just stuff for me that makes me in my life want to live more, you know, and at the same time, like in jiu-jitsu, it just makes me want to represent more. It just makes me want to like, it makes me push myself, like not like, oh, I'm in an arm bar, I'm gonna let my arm break. It's just like in every moment that leads up to that, you know, like competing is very difficult. It's like so tough to like show up and be the best version of yourself, you know. But I think those moments like that, those big moments are a bunch of little moments. You know, I go into so many tournaments so confident, not because I think I'm the best, but because I swear I put in every inch of work I can put in, you know. Like my dad instilled that in me right off the bat, but I'm just around so many good people, you know, like I have thankfully in the past year, you know, like we were talking about before the podcast, like how sponsorships work and how we don't even know that they work, you know, but just learning about like self-worth and, you know, like marketing yourself and understanding, you know, like where you are, that's been such an awesome journey for me, you know. So I'm just looking forward to continuing to teach jiu-jitsu. I'm looking forward to keep continuing teaching in school and also make an impact there, but also like my competition thing is like I want to go to ADCC. I want to win ADCC. I want to win like a CJJ. I just went out for a combat jiu-jitsu trials, went against a really good guy, got him in a really good submission. He got me in the craziest backwards, like he did the submission I had on him, he redid it to me. And like this is, I'll just tell you the metrics of it real quick. I think every YouTube video I have is just, you know, me putting up jiu-jitsu just so people to see it easier. Maybe 300 views. I put a little crazy title, but it's called Crazy Double Buggy Choke on my channel. But just to give you the metrics, most I've ever had, I think, is like 600 on another video. This got 6K in like 3 days.
That's crazy.
And I was just like, wait, how? I was like, because I didn't even like post it really. I just sent it to like a couple like different schools, and people were like, dude, we have to see this. So I lost that, but it was a learning experience. And you know what? I'm healthy and I'm good right now. So ADCC is really close, and that's not even the thing. It's just about the test. It's about pushing, I think, now, because, you know, like I want to tell my kids one day, like, hey, like I tried my best to get to the top level of this. You know, I shed through a bunch of like levels of myself, of evolution. You know, like you learn so much that you know, my Flow with the Go t-shirt is like half mind, half body, you know, like half heart, half brain. And I think that's, I don't know, to me, you know, it's Flow with the Go. It's Hicks and Gracie right here. He's John Jock's teacher. He just wrote a book called Breathe, really good. Definitely check it out. But that's his thing that he said in one of his documentaries. He said Flow with the Go. And to me, what that means is like this connection between, you know when you're overthinking it versus when you're like so trying to control it with your body. It's the balance, it's the middle of that, you know, where you're letting go in your head and you're also staying connected, and you're letting go in your body, but you're also staying connected. It's that flow state. But instead of saying like flow, or instead of saying like go with the flow, you flow with the go. So almost like in jiu-jitsu, for me, it reminds me of like always initiating, like never just being like, because at first that's what my jiu-jitsu was sort of like. It was sort of like just like let stuff happen and then the submission will happen. But you got to learn to like sort of, you know, get after it and flow with the go. It's like that, the middle ground between like controlling. It's like flow versus control, you know, it's the balance of them both. So for me, that's just been like a huge aspect of my life. And just in competing, that's what I try to get to. You know, I try to get to that balanced state of like, you know, a little bit of breath work, a little bit of like meditation right before, and just empty mind, you know. It's so hard, you know, especially with everything else going on in life. But recently, a couple times, not all the time, but a couple times, I've been able to like, just the mentality of competing, I've been able to get to the spot where I'm shaking hands with somebody and it's me and the person in just in a white room. There's nothing else around. And I think that's the flow with the go state, you know? And I've talked to a couple, like I was talking to Makovsky about it. He was like, well, I've never gotten there. And I was like, I don't know what that spot was, but like it felt really good, you know? I just continue to try to balance it in different aspects, to try to get to spots like that where I just like don't feel bound by anything. I'm not anywhere else. I'm right here and I'm doing exactly what I need to do, you know? And I think, especially before competing in jiu-jitsu, so many people are scared and this and that and anxious and whatever. But I think, you know, gratitude over fear is is everything, you know? So once you have that gratitude, like, wow, I'm doing what I love, and just having the opportunity, and not even just doing jiu-jitsu, just waking up every day and being able to like do something that you love a little bit, you know, everything's a balance. So I think, I don't know, that for me, that's my mission that I like try to get across to my students, mostly in jiu-jitsu, but a little bit in school too. But I try to share that, you know? So like with this new sponsor thing I'm doing like a nice hoodie with all these different sponsors, redoing the logo a little bit, and just gonna say like, believe in yourself, just because I want, you know, like I want it to be that thing that people wear when they go compete, and be like, okay, breathe. Okay, maybe one sleeve says breathe, the other one says believe in yourself. But just those are the two reminders for me that I literally like always try to remind myself.
That's a cool idea.
Know? Just because it doesn't matter what it is. Breathe, take a deep breath, believe in yourself, and I think, you know, things will work. I don't know. Sometimes they don't, but you'll keep making them not work. You're like, all right, that didn't work. What can work? You know. And I think it's so interesting hearing your story. Even the time today was just so cool, just hearing about everything. So it's awesome.
Yeah, man. Everything that you say lines up to how you live your life, and like I said, man, it was a really interesting interview for the fact of like just me, you know, like how we were talking about like putting a puzzle together. When you guys come on, I'm like, oh, all right, this makes sense. But like I've always wanted to interview you. Like I said, you stand out, and I like your philosophies on stuff, and I like you know, how you lay your things out. And I want to thank you for coming on. I want to give you the opportunity to plug all of your sponsors, because we talked before the show about like how awkward it is when you first start getting sponsors and you don't know what you're doing, but then like the further you go, you figure out.
I still don't know what I'm doing in anything, to be honest. In anything.
You know what you're doing. You're moving along at a slow pace. You're not asking for too much out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
You definitely are growing into what it should be, and you have awesome people in front of you to follow as well.
Well, it's nice having people like you around too, that you're like, you know, want to give up an evening. Like you could be like, oh, it's whatever, man. But you giving, just like we were talking about time before, you giving up an evening to like, for us to share, to get time together to like try to grow each other. It's huge to me too, you know.
It's cool. It's a huge benefit of doing the podcast is I can choose, you know, people that I want to bring on. And like, it, you know, the same thing is like where it's like awkward sometimes where you keep running into somebody at the school and you don't even know them. And I'm just like, hey, what's up? And then like, you know, and then it's like I spend a lot of time with Zach and JM, but it's like I don't get to spend that much time. And that was like when it first started is when I got to interview Thor. And like I always loved Thor's story because I got to see it from when he was still at Bethlehem and then getting his own school. And, you know, I caught a really cool time when I saw Grace hit her stride, and then right after that was Thor. Like I was there for a really cool history.
I've been since before, so I know exactly what you man,
you're
talking
cool.
about, like seeing them.
Give shout out to all your sponsors or any way they want to get a hold of them or anything like that.
So if you want, you can sponsor me. Internet, like, and right, we were talking about what it sponsors and stuff. You know, for me at least, it's helping me go out and compete. It's helping me go out and teach and spread jiu-jitsu to people and stuff like that. And it's also like working with the business, you know. So I want them to, you know, I want us to continue the relationship, but you know, like it's a certain term, like this one's a year term agreement, but it's just like working on like how can we both be better together, you know, and that's what I always want to help out with. So like some of my first sponsors that really like helped me out, Rath's Deli and Peaburg, really high quality meats, you know. Some of the guys there I train with jiu-jitsu and that actually helped me lift too. So huge, just been game changers in my whole diet and everything. Like I gotta bring you a New York strip the next time, and then
dude,
and
I want to go down. I saw some of the stuff you're posting. I want to go down.
I'm about to get a bunch of stuff, so I'll bring a couple steaks or London broil. I'll send you what I got, and then you say what you want to make, and we'll do it on the cooking show.
Hell yeah!
And then,
see the asset of the cooking show.
Exactly. And then next one that really helped me out a lot. I don't know if you know Deanna with Sherryville Photography.
Yeah.
She has always helped me, you know. And at first we were just working with pictures, but a couple times I was really stuck in some sticky situations. She like just helped me out, you know. And that's like the tough part, you know. Like I'll be like in Florida or in California and be like, man, like I should have managed my money better, or just you know, running after these things and just making them happen. And you know, like it's just tough to keep up sometimes. So she helped me out a bunch of different times. Her photography company is really cool. And then Sugarloaf Organics, my one friend started a CBD company a couple years ago, local to like Pennsylvania, super family owned brand, right out of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, so super close. Quality Painting, one of my friend's painting businesses. Made Strength, Craig is the man. Like people say whatever to me people say to me all the time that I'm really strong. I'm like, dude, I'm not really strong. You have to meet some really strong people to say I'm really strong.
Craig was one of my favorite podcasts. His story is awesome.
Craig is the best, and he's same thing, been somebody who's always believed in me, has really helped me out, has sponsored me before I even had was just like, man, I will help you out with whatever you need. And he's somebody so essential to my game. So right in Peeper, really good lifting. Right there, Mobility Doc is my physical therapist, like we were talking about before.
That's so funny.
It happens. I don't know, guys. I'm not saying I hurt people. But if you come train with me and you get hurt, I have somebody you can go to. So he's really good. Dr. John and Chloe, super awesome there. And then also, I have new ones. Inverted Gear, Hillary and Nelson. I don't know if you know them. It's like the Panda. Jiu-jitsu gear. Lanky, another fight gear type company.
I want to get him on.
John
he was
Rivison.
friends with Zach from years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of them have known them since the get, and now like sort of stories all come together, and they're all awesome. Actually, Nelson and Hillary are about to open a gi school in Allentown, so
awesome.
They're going to open a school actually right under my physical therapist at Mobility Doc, so that's going to be really cool. I'll be able to do some berimbolos and some gi and stuff. New House in Easton is really awesome. I should connect you with them. They have like acupuncture, cryo, chiro, massage, red light laser, like all this crazy stuff. And for me, I need physical therapy and I need everything under the sun I can get, to just, like nowadays the answer is not training 1,000%. It's training 1,000%. Okay, cool. Recovering 1,000%, because especially when like sometimes I'm competing every weekend, like you need to learn how to, get your body back to normal. Morning Wood Builder is another guy that really helps me out a lot all the time too. Chris Hull, Sam too. Rubber Guard Assassins is this Instagram page, but he was one of the first guys that told me, like Zach's always empowered me, but he was like, you need to make a sponsorship package. Like, why not? And I was just like, oh, because like, why would I deserve one either, he was just so helpful in like helping me market it, and always just sharing the stuff, it just really makes a difference. He's got a huge international grip, so like sometimes just circling back to like what sponsoring me gives, like it's such an international platform. Whatever you try to do, boom, I have people all across the entire world looking at it right now. And it's not because I have 10,000 followers, but it's because I have a X amount of followers, and I really do know most of them, like a lot of them, and some people it's weird. Some people I don't know, and they follow me, like they meet me in person, like, dude, like that's crazy. That makes me feel famous. But like I have like 2,000 Instagram followers.
No, it's always weird when people come up to you, because I get that from the school a lot, because over the years we connected Never Again's audience and Finisher's audience, and it happened naturally. It took about 4 years, but now it's like I'll have people come up at the pop-ups and be like, yo, like I love the podcast and I love when you had this person on, and I'm not used to being out there hearing the feedback. So it is it's an awkward feeling. Like when people are like just that I don't know, that are like, yo, I follow you, and I'm like, it's just, what did you
it's
see?
Cool. No, exactly. But it's always positive. You know?
Absolutely. That shit empowers me. Like when you're running a half marathon and someone's holding the fucking sign up says keep going.
And then the last sponsor that I've linked with, I was in California for a tournament, and it was the High Rollers tournament, and this Jars Life dispensary sponsored me, and now they want to like really help me full time. And they just, like for me, it's not about getting paid. It's not about it's like, can we work together? And they were somebody who like supported me. I was like, I don't know if I can go out there. Like, I just need some help, like money wise. And they were like, we'll do whatever, But then just talking about mission statements, like not even like a mission statement, but just like what's your why? What do you care about? We were just talking about how we can get more involved with like teaching cops jiu-jitsu and just women's self-defense programs and just self-defense as a whole and stuff, and they've always been super helpful, and I've only known them for a couple months, so that's been super huge. So shout out to Jars. They're in like Michigan and Arizona and stuff like that, so not around, but just sponsoring from afar and really helping out and stuff.
It's huge.
That for me, like that's my goal. I just want a couple people to keep me around to help me push me forward when I really need it, you know. And I don't know. I hope I get gold some day in something cool, but I don't know. I don't think it's about the destination. It's about the journey, you know. So I'm just trying. I try to like just find the peace and enjoy this stuff. And you know, I don't know. I think I have too much fun, but it's I don't know. I think you have to breathe and, you know, just find the flow of your life and sort of like find the group of people that mean something to you and continue to, you know, like, I don't know, spread the message of like what you think life is all about. And I'm so thankful to be here. I'm so thankful to, you know, when I'm driving to jiu-jitsu and like I'm like thinking about what I'm gonna teach, I just like I like always smile. Like I'm almost never. I don't think I've ever taught a jiu-jitsu class like mad. Like I just can't. Like it's just so awesome. It's so fun. It's so cool. And I just love to empower people. And that's what I feel like. You know, when you help somebody with one detail. When I had that one feeling, one detail missing, I gave it to them. They went to a tournament, won. And they weren't the strong athletic person. I've trained a lot of strong athletic people. I've trained a lot of like smaller, less athletic individuals too. And for me, that's the thing, you know, it's like that dad that's looking at you. That's like, man, this is giving me the peace in my day for me to go have a great time with my family tonight. You know, that's something that's just like, man, that's crazy. That's so insane, you know? And then maybe, right, like, for example, like, maybe you start coming in training and you're like, you know what? Like, we're like, Action Bronson, we're going to open up an olive oil company, let's go, you know? Like, and I'm going to do leg locks. Get out of here.
He's a huge inspiration to everything I do.
That's so awesome. Let's go.
I've watched that man. Guy. I mean, I got his shit up there, man. I
saw it was the first channel that you had on your YouTube.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, because I told you about his show and you're like, yeah, I know. I was like,
yeah. No, I followed him. I got into him with his mixtapes, and then I watched him come up.
Yeah.
One of the most important things I took from him is that he doesn't stay in his lane, and he goes and he makes money doing. You know, he was doing those paintings and making money. Then he went over to olive oil making money. Then he's selling ice cream. Then he's going to Fuck That's Delicious. Then Vice fucks him over, so he just takes the whole show, loses a shitload of weight, starts
Aliens.
a YouTube. Yeah. Then Ancient Aliens he did. Then he did the Action Bronson show where it was like
I don't think I saw that one.
He just like hosted a variety show, and he would have Rob Van Dam and Balky Bartolomeos, and then a marching band. Like, he did whatever he wanted,
and it's about being uncomfortable. And it's about pushing yourself like that,
yeah.
You know. And I don't know. For me, like competing, that's how I feel uncomfortable and pushing myself. So for now, that's how I'm gonna try to get to the next level, and of my evolution. And once I get to like that next level, I'm like, okay, what's that? Because everyone's like, oh, you're gonna open a school. Do I want to open a school? Do I feel so thankful to open a school? Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I just am not sure where I want to go yet. I'm not sure what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know? Because I do want to do jiu-jitsu, but one dynamic that it's just been tough for me at times, right, like that I described before I got the teaching job, was like the stress of making money from what you love. Ooh, that's a fine line,
yeah.
You know, because your self-worth is in there, and also your roof, you know, the car you drive, everything, it's under that, you know. So I've liked the aspect of having it two different realms, but at the same time, you know, I don't know how I can mix them up. I don't know what I can do, but
you're young,
yeah. So I'm trying to see, you know,
you'll find the path just like you did when you were in college. But like, it's also where you're at now is like, you know, I have people lately that have been contacting me that are interested in doing things with me, and I'm like, yo, I could just do this. Like, I'm getting by, and I am the happiest I've ever been. My depression levels aren't even around anymore. They come and go, but they're manageable. They used to not be manageable. Used to just drink a bottle, and you know what I mean, and then go out and wreck my life because I didn't know what I wanted to do creatively. But like the fact that like this is my job, that I get to talk to you, and then I'm interviewing a guy from the hunting channel tomorrow, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday I'm selling burgers, and then Tuesday I'm taking off, and like, you know, my life is where I want it to be. And then like, to me, it's like everyone always was like, yo, you're going to kill it. And I just always would say, I just want to get by, man. I want to get paid what I'm getting paid at this crappy job.
Yeah.
Once I get there, then like, to me, I made it. Like, I get to do this. This is,
just sustainability.
I can do whatever I want. I can wake up tomorrow morning, you know, like tomorrow I got to go pick up the hamburger for all the events, but I'm going to get up earlier and I'm going to go hiking. Like, I never did that because I always hated going to work.
Where are you going?
Hiking. I go to Jacobsburg. It's literally 7 minutes from here.
Yeah, let's do the Delaware Water Gap sometime.
Dude, if you're into long form hiking, I will go. I can't find anybody that wants to go really long.
Dude, say less.
Appalachian Trail is over here, 2 minutes behind my parents' house.
My best friend did the Appalachian Trail and met me here. I picked him up.
How far did he go?
He went, he had 30 miles left, and his dad went with him the whole time. And like 100 miles before then, his dad's knee like totally blew. Totally. His dad's like 60 something.
Yeah.
Man. Like, and
it's
when
not
I
easy.
when I tell you, like I was saying before, I'm not a strong guy, but like I know I have stamina. I know like I have all that kind of stuff. You know, dude, they were doing 25 miles a day.
Yeah.
In what they call this section right here, Rocksylvania.
Well, yeah, because when you
From
start
Wind Gap
here,
to, like,
if you just go, because there's an entrance by my parents' house, and
Which is where?
It's right down here in Bushkill Township,
Okay.
and then it's
it passes.
It's actually where you can like you fill out the journal, you can get water. There's a bathroom, and there's like a lean-to that they have built there.
What's that?
I forget the name of the trail,
Yeah, 'cause
but
there's a
from
spot
there
right
to
there.
Wind Gap is about 5-6 miles.
Okay, so the spot that we started was 15 miles before that.
Yeah.
We got to there, got picked up, came back.
Yeah,
and
there's
then
a parking lot right there.
Yeah. So we did that.
But no, if
and
you
then-
go
and
to
then
Wind
went
Gap,
into New
it's
Jersey.
all rock.
So let's do but this is what I'm saying. We can just do from Wind Gap like to the Delaware Water Gap, or do the reverse.
I'm in, man. It's getting good hiking weather too.
Or we can start the opposite. We can start at the Delaware Water Gap, go through the gap, and go like that's what we did. We had to go through the gap, through 80, and then like 10 more miles into New Jersey.
I love that stuff.
But for me, like that's a huge aspect of like balance for me. Right now I feel so unbalanced. Like even though my whole summer was awesome, connecting to the earth is always it's always so huge, because like it just that's what balances you out. You know, I think like that's where we come from, you know. So
it's weird. The older I get, the more I'm called to it, and like I'll see green in my head, and I never understood what it was. And then I went hiking, and then it kind of like opened up in my head, and I was like, oh wow, like it was calling me. Nature was calling me with the green, and then I'll see blue, and like I mean, it's also why the walls are down here. The time when I was painting this, I wanted to feel open and free, and then when I went to the ocean, I was like, oh, this like decompresses,
feeling,
and then it's like, so now I pay attention to like when these things call, and like sometimes they don't, but like right now winter's calling, and I've never had something call me in winter. So like I started looking into like cabins out in the middle of nowhere where like you're literally like by a lake, there's a ton of wood, and then you're just there to like read a book or just like burn firewood. So like I'm doing that. Like I already started looking to book it in December before my life gets too busy. And I don't know, man, there's a lot that
We'll connect.
Once again, thank you for coming on. If you, first of all, anyone, if you're thinking about sponsoring him, all of his contact info is here. Go check him out. Sponsor this guy. I know what it's like to need sponsors, and it helps out not only. It allows you to create and do the things that you love, and then you give back to the people that are giving to you. So this guy's a legit person who will not just take your. I know people who will take your money and then they just get 5 more and then they keep recycling it. This is not that person. Check him out. If you guys are interested in sponsoring him, please do. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, it's neveragainstudio.com. That's everything Never Again. We have our apparel on there, how you can sponsor this show. The YouTube's on there. Subscribe to the YouTube. We're trying to grow the YouTube out, but everything Never Again is on neveragainstudio.com. Also, Keystone Munitions, Nazo Ammo. I booked him finally. I know I say this every show. He's like the Matt Damon on Jimmy Kimmel. He's coming in next Wednesday. I'm going to tell the story of Keystone Munitions. He's a rad guy, and we started Nazo Ammo. We connected it to Keystone. Zach is our first sales guy. So if you are from 10th Planet, you are anything connected to Zach Maslany, go through him to make the purchases. Zach is a sales rep, and then he gets cut in on it. But that's nazoammo.com. Right now we have 9mm. I believe there's 45 and 5.56 coming down the pipe. If you're into anything like this at all, contact me if you have any questions or go to it. Thank you again. Seriously, go check him out. Sponsor him. It's worth it. This man's doing some awesome things. Get behind him. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, Again Radio. Get into it, brother.